Can't wait for Maya.
Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Monday, January 28th, 2013. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Folks could remain standing. Please be advised that Governor Deval Patrick has ordered the United States flag and the Commonwealth flag be lowered to half-staff in all state buildings from sunrise until sunset on Thursday, January 24th, 2013, in honor of Sergeant First Class Michael J. Squicali, I think I may have pronounced that wrong, of Uxbridge, who died on January 16th, 2013, and the flags of the United States and Commonwealth flag be lowered to half-staff in all state buildings from sunrise until sunset on Friday, January 18th, 2013, in honor of Private First Class Antonio Siracos of Lynn, who died on January 10th, 2013. Thank you. Okay, so tonight we're going to start with reading the mail, then we'll go on to public input. At 7:15, we'll have fiscal year 2014 budget update, the operating budget and capital improvement plans. 8 o'clock, we've got a public hearing continuation for Acton Toyota of Littleton, amend the Class 1 license. At 8:05, we're going to go on to town clerk, conflict of interest law, education exemption for senior citizen tax abatement program participants. 8:15, we've got an open space plan update. 8:40, we've got the town administrator, assistant town administrator, finance and budget, fire department staffing plan, deputy fire chief. At 9 o'clock, we've got other business, consent agenda, and minutes approved. Let's start with the mail. Mr. Bergman.
Mr. Chairman, several things to go through in the mail. First, a couple of upcoming events. First is this Friday, February 1st, we've got competing events. At 8 a.m. in Bedford is the Magic subregion of MAPC holding its annual legislative breakfast. Many of our legislators will be there, including Senator Jamie Eldridge, and I will be moderating that event as the chair of Magic this year. Also, this Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and Bonnie will be covering this, the Neshoba Valley Technical High School annual budget briefing for town officials for the member communities. That's taking place at the high school in Westford, and it is, and we'll get our assessment figures for dessert. So,
Bonnie, I'll be at that one too.
Hey, good. That's a nice event.
So just Mr. Knox is going? Are you going then?
No, I can't make it this year.
Are you going, Greg? I'm not. I have business. Time to.
Is it real business or?
It's real business. Our department conference calls are Friday mornings, or home morning.
the Littleton School Committee has made us aware of a presentation that they are hosting on Thursday, February 7th, where State Representative Jen Benson will be talking about a recent trip where she and others studied alternative elementary and secondary education models in Finland. And so we have an invitation from Paul Avella at the school committee inviting us to that. We have a letter from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, which forwarded to us draft updated flood maps, which we are reviewing and can comment on during the review period. Copies of those maps are available in our office for those who would like more information. The State Ethics Commission has sent out to all communities an advisory on making and receiving recommendations for employment. And that document is also online and is will be distributed to interested parties.
I don't think I got all the pages to that.
There's an awful lot of them.
Mine goes 1, 3, 5, 7.
They're double-sided.
Yeah, it looks like you just have the,
Mine 3.
yeah, I just got the odd number
Yeah, I did too.
originals.
Oh, good catch.
I was trying to read it all and realized that for a while I thought it was me.
If you go to the website with the summary of tonight's meeting and click the link, it'll have the complete document that's available online. We'll get into this a little bit more when we review the budget, but I had included in our packet here an agenda for tomorrow night's proposed joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Selectmen. Understanding we won't have a quorum there, and when we get to Bonnie's budget update, we can discuss whether we want to, whether we should reschedule that to February 12th. FinCom is amenable to doing that, but we could just take a minute to talk about that. An item which I got a copy of today, but am very proud to because it came in our mail, our snail mail today, but I'm very pleased to share with the board and others that the town of Littleton, because of the work of our HR program and led by Ann Essman and involving many of the town departments, received a Best Progress in Wellness Award through Maya Health Benefits Program. And there was actually a little award ceremony on Saturday. I would have gone to but the letter went out on the 18th and it was received today. So.
And so.
But
that's
we
the
got,
award.
but Ann was there to get the award. Ann knew about it. I'm happy that work was recognized. It is a very active program, and we should be proud of the work that our
We're
folks are
hoping
doing.
it's reflected in our premiums.
That's the matter. That premium's reduced.
So the last item that I had in the mail packet was some information from Chief Kelly about the information release error, and thought we could, while it's not an agenda item for any action, where the chief has been doing a good deal of outreach to the community and affected folks, that we're on camera for a minute or two just to brief us. We have a full agenda tonight, Chief.
As you know, last Thursday, we were informed by Fox 25 News. You okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead.
Fox 25 News that we mistakenly put up some personal information of approximately, actually 120 or so people onto our log on the web. And when we were told that by Fox 25, we immediately took it down. We began to identify those individuals and try to get phone numbers for them. By the end of Friday, all individuals, we attempted to call all individuals by the end of Friday. I think we were successful about 60% of the time due to people not having landlines and unlisted numbers. By Friday evening, the 47 individuals that live in Littleton, whose information was put up, they received letters hand-delivered by my officers to them explaining the situation. You got a copy of that letter. The newspaper also got a copy of that letter. We also reached out to the newspaper immediately and had them put something up on their website. We posted information on our Facebook. We also, the individuals that lived outside of town, the contiguous towns, we drove to their respective post offices, put their letters into their post office so they'd be delivered Saturday. And then the final 35 that lived throughout the Commonwealth, and 3 of those individuals outside of state, theirs were mailed in a manner that they would get them today, by the end of today. So everyone's been notified of our error. It was in fact a human error. We have put steps in place now with the assistance of the IT manager in town to change the format of the log file, and also to ensure that Deputy Chief King or I have to look at the file and approve it before it goes up on the web. So that's already in place now. So at this point, we are exactly 2 weeks away from the first day that the information was put up on the web. We have had no reports of fraud associated to those individuals that are on that list. That list has been posted with all my dispatchers, so if someone calls in that's on that list with an incident in regards to their information, I'll be notified immediately, and I'll guide the process to take care of that individual personally. So at this point, we are in somewhat of a holding pattern, waiting to see if anybody is affected, and when and if they are affected, they'll contact me, and we'll take care of them as quickly as possible.
How long was this information available publicly?
The information was on our website for a total of 10 days. During that 10 days, 310 people went to our website. At this time, it appears that less than 50 of those went to the police log and looked. The average time of the hit on our website was 1 minute and 3 seconds.
So you feel that the potential risk of exposure is relatively low based on that information?
After talking to IT, and also they worked with Google and Firefox to ensure that there were no caches left out there. I'm crossing my fingers, for sure.
So
I'm still concerned.
how did the
obviously.
press find out about it?
The press found out about it because a viewer of Fox 25 called Mike Bodette, their undercover reporter, and informed him of the fact.
They didn't call you guys to question?
No, everybody loves a good "I gotcha" moment, especially when it's those that say "I gotcha."
Fair enough. Not that I want to make a big debate about it, but if we want to talk about it for a couple of minutes.
No, I just want to know, what kind of information did we send out to the people who were potentially affected?
Well,
What was included in the letters?
what was included in the letters? Included in the letter was my sincerest apologies personally, as chief of police and the individual that oversees it. We explained the entire situation to them, how it was released by human error, the amount of hits on our website and all that information, and then also directed them to back to our website, which I know is somewhat ironic, and directed them to our identity theft tab, and there's instructions on how to contact all the fraud units within the 3 credit bureaus, and also instructions in regards to financial institutions.
So was there advice to put on a fraud alert? I know just that's the first step when we've had credit cards and things stolen. That's what comes in.
That's the fraud section of each of those credit bureaus.
So they'll call them up and say, why are you calling? You say, well, my
That's
information was
correct.
possibly released, and
Exactly.
they'll take it from there. They have people
Exactly.
specializing in that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And once again, I put my email address down on the bottom of the letter. So I've been contacted, personally through my email by some of the individuals. For the most part, 98% of them have understood the situation, not happy about it, but they understand. And I think up to this point, we've probably handled about 15 phone calls, and I've had visits from 3 residents.
I think at some point, I'd like to put this to bed and have a summary maybe in 30 days at our February 25th meeting, just
Absolutely.
page. You know, because that'll be a better idea of if anybody's been hit. I think a lot of these things can wait where people won't use the information right away, but
Absolutely.
30 days from now, so on our February 25th memo, you know, we've gotten all the emails, so you want to cut and paste, put that in there, but obviously a summary of, you know, has anybody been impacted, reporting impact, something like that. And after 30 days, I mean, maybe at that point we can say, okay, you know, our.
One thing that I have said to the people involved is if any one of them from that list has had a problem, we will recontact them all.
Yeah.
So they can up their vigilance
Right.
in regards to their information.
If I could, Chief, I think one of the comments I want to make is that it's very unfortunate what happened, but I think the way that you and the deputy have handled this is very professional, straightforward, and shows a lot of character, because no one wants to be in that position, but you stood right up to what happened.
Thank you.
I just wanted to offer, just as a part of normal business here, and I had talked to Bonnie about it last week, where something, in the normal course of events, we file claims on incident, with our insurance company on matters which could give rise to a claim at some point. So we put, it's not anything they couldn't read in the newspaper or see on Boston media, but we put in a formal claim with our insurance company and will be advised by them on any steps that they would want us to be able to take to deal with this. I echo Joe's comments, and I said to the chief, one test, you know, of an organization is not, you know, mistakes are gonna happen. I'll tell you, on police logs, my wife is a regional editor for an online news service and deals with issues around police logs a lot. It's not, this sort of thing isn't unique. And it's one of the things that she as an editor gets called on to have pulled police logs down off of her website. So I know, I hear a lot about that. But one test is what do you do to fix it and spring into action? And I think that there's been a lot of proactive steps here. And if there are any further recommendations that our insurer wants to have us do, we'll do them. So,
I agree with what you said. The point here is to look at it and say, okay, well, you know, mistakes happen, but as a police department, as a town, we have to think about making sure that we put whatever is necessary in place to hopefully prevent this sort of thing from happening again. Sounds like that is well underway, and so I agree with Ted that we can just sort of hear somewhere down the road if we can have a report of status of where we are, you know, including all the, if you may see other changes you want to do, you know, you may get advice from IT or whatever, and you know, just hope that we don't come across this again, because it's not a good.
Well, we won't the same manner, I promise that.
I have to say that you've sent me a lot of emails, phone calls, had discussions about this, and I think your follow-up and attention to detail after we found out what happened was very good. So,
Thank you.
all good perspective.
If I could just say one quick thing, and this is not to minimize anything here, but a lot of people don't realize it. The only part of this whole thing that was wrong was the social security numbers going up.
Right, we weren't giving out credit card numbers.
No, what, names, date of birth, address, anything like that, that's all public information on a police log that has to go out, including date of birth. That was confirmed with the Secretary of State's office and the town clerks. It's the social security number part that causes the click of the issue. But a lot of people don't realize that there is a certain amount of personal information that we do have to provide upon being asked.
Well, you think about back in like the 70s and 80s, we gave out social security numbers like it was water, you know, everybody.
Well, your license number was your social security number.
You know, so I mean, we just take extra steps to be safe.
Absolutely.
It just sounds like you reacted in the right manner, as far as I'm concerned,
Thank you.
with urgency and got it taken care of. So, good job. And I guess, based off of what Selectman Doucette had asked for, we could schedule a follow-up.
You'll hear from me.
I just want to put a date on it so that it doesn't
yes, we'll
linger.
do
We
on
can
the-
put it out,
is-
people
can we do it on the
watching
25th?
know.
You're not here then.
I'm not here, I mean, that's,
You wanna do,
Ted can run.
Actually, I
the
may
show.
or may not be here either, but, you know, if we,
Well,
I just think it's a good date if you
you're
get
not,
it.
then
Maybe put it out to March.
None of us will be, all right?
It's something that you'll probably publish with us anyway, and then, just
Yeah.
maybe a quick, we'll get a preview of it before.
12 months from,
Keith put it out in March.
yeah,
Oh, you want it? Okay.
March 11th, okay.
I might have to go to, Conservation Commission hearing. It's either the 11th or the 25th.
All right, very good. Thanks for that thorough update.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to public input. Anyone in the audience? We're all here for one purpose. Anybody else? All right. Board members, any public input?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to report, and I thought you were gonna take this one, but we got a call last week from Omni, or I got a call from Greg, where Omni said that they wanted to meet with Greg and I to discuss the host community agreement.
Correct.
We met with them on Friday, I think it was about 6 o'clock. It went till about 7:30.
Yeah.
We just met at a Dunkin' Donuts. And the way I summarized it when we were done with this is that they wanted to meet, so this was David Hale and Mark, I don't remember his, Mark Brooks. So they wanted to explain to us, talk about the in perpetuity and the host community agreement. At the end, I summarized it that there were basically two issues that they wanted to bring up, and they wanted to mention explain to us how the in perpetuity portion or language is not an advantage to their financing and how it might hurt them with their financing. They went a little into the details, very open, answered a lot of questions that I had. And then they also wanted to mention that even if the in perpetuity is not included in the host community agreement, that they have that in perpetuity protection under the ZBA ruling or the ZBA decision and condition. So even though it's not in our agreement, that they were, the town still has protection. Greg was very hard pushing them, trying to get them to keep that in there, and asked them to say, can you put something in there to give us this belts and suspenders, a second layer of approval for it? And asked them, could you please try to bring something back to us? And they kind of thought about it, and then, I could tell they weren't too into it, so I directly asked them, look,
Interesting.
should we wait 2 weeks, or can you tell us now that whether or not you're gonna try to do something? They said, no, they won't sign a host community agreement that has the in perpetuity into it.
The rental in perpetuity.
So, right, the rental, that's the whole rental in perpetuity.
That's really what the whole meeting was all about, was about making sure that, we stated our case that rental in perpetuity with the 40B was a very important element. And of course, there's other things that they started talking about the financial aspects of it, which to me was okay information, but wasn't anything that was really all that interesting. It was about getting and making sure that rental in perpetuity was giving us another layer of insurance for the town, so that we're not dealing with 40Bs in 3, 4, 5 years because they've got some sort of financial hardship or financial crisis.
Well, I think what town council said was very telling is that, they come across a financial hardship, and there is a way for them to bring that out of affordable
Correct.
housing. And if that comes out of affordable housing, if there's any way for it to come out of affordable housing, all the gains that we are negotiating for, which is to get ourselves above the 10%,
Correct.
are lost.
Correct.
And so I think their unwillingness to talk about the in perpetuity thing because of marketing, because of financing, because of those reasons is pretty telling. And, I'm a little worried about it.
My goal here tonight was to report the meeting, so Jen, if you have any questions about what I said or the summary or anything like that, I'd be happy to send you an email or talk to you about it afterwards. As far as what Alex had to say, I think that's debate, and that's fine to express that opinion, but I think that's debate that we should hold over, and I don't think we should get into a long discussion about the HCA tonight when we have a public hearing on it. So my reason for bringing it up was to report the meeting and get that on record. I did not take notes. I have a couple notes scratched down here, but I feel that this was a meeting that they called, and I feel that if we have our thoughts and summary in the minutes, I feel that's a sufficient record. So,
Well stated. Good job.
Could I ask that you take the town clerk next?
You can certainly ask. You look like you're in a hurry to get home.
No, I just,
It won't be long.
Okay,
It won't be.
you know
where is
what?
it? I don't even see her on the agenda.
I-
Oh,
Ah,
8
We'll
o'clock.
take care of you.
Yeah, 8:05.
8:05.
I don't think anyone is out waiting at home to come in at 8:05.
No, I think we're
Well,
okay.
it's not a public hearing.
No.
We'll move some things around here.
Item 5.
All right.
All right, let's move on to item 5 with the town clerk.
Basically, what I'm here this evening to do is request from you a motion, which you've been given, to grant a waiver or exemption to the senior citizens that are doing community service, the tax abatement program, to exempt them from doing the ethics online training. And basically, the commission has given new rulings and new exemptions in their law. And it states that the senior work program is one of them that can be exempted. It requires you folks to give us an A or nay. We do not need to get the commission, state commission approval. We just need to keep a record of any groups that we're looking to exempt. So this evening, I'm here to request that you consider giving the exemption to the seniors.
Board members, any thoughts?
Is there another way for them to get the training? Do they still have any type of training, or is it just they're not doing it online and they're doing it, they have a handbook or something, or is it they're
No,
not
it
doing
would
it
be
all?
that they would not
And they
be
would not be
required to take
required
the
to do
training.
it at all.
And because they fall into the category, under the State Ethics Commission's guidelines of a group of volunteers, if you will, whose, function
their
is so
position doesn't-
far away from, exercising any
Oh, that's why,
any
okay.
authority, that they
Alright.
fall into the category of, essentially, that they don't need to.
They don't
be
have an
in-
interest, yeah.
They don't need to be under the
Yeah, they're-
program.
Oh, okay,
They're
Yeah.
stuffing envelopes, they're sending out mailers,
Okay.
flyers and
A lot of
stuff like that.
clerical
So
work
they're really
and
not making
basics.
any decisions for the town, they're really just there to volunteer.
okay.
It, what, I'm glad this is all here, they're very specific about the, where to draw that line.
Yes.
Would you have any objection to including the Medical Reserve Corps, which is a listed exemption?
I hadn't really given them a thought. The reason I came here this evening was for the seniors specifically, because we have so many of them, and so many of them get so upset about having to do this, and if they don't get it done in time, what's gonna happen to them? Are they gonna lose their service? Are they gonna lose their exemption with the town that they're looking to do? Because a lot of them are hard-strapped for money, and that's part of why they do it, and so
We
that was
could
one
look at
of those-
other groups, I mean,
Exactly.
you could say if tonight's the first vote on this category, we could go
Add.
back, we haven't
Later on,
reviewed
yeah,
that.
I mean,
The reason I said
But,
it is
yeah.
because, many of the Medical Reserve Corps people are retired people who just come in for the sake of volunteering for flu shot clinic, shelter operation, something like that. And, I didn't even think of it until I saw it on the list. And, if we can take it up again later, that's okay with me, but
If you, I don't have a problem adding, if you wanna add it to the motion tonight.
I
If you
would
wanna-
like to, but,
If you wanna add it to the
if-
motion,
If everybody else is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
go, if you wanna make the motion and add it in there, I don't.
I personally don't have an issue with it unless you guys
I
think
don't
it might,
have
it
it.
should be batted out before we,
I
Add
don't
it.
really know, I
Well,
mean, I guess
do
I
we know
would,
who that is?
I would need to really look
so,
at
so we
who I
should
have on that
probably
group.
take a look at it first, just
I
to
mean,
make sure you're
I
comfortable
do know
with it.
who is on the senior work program, I have a list. And,
So if we don't vote it tonight, then should they technically be taking that, and should then they're required to get it as of tomorrow?
I
They're
don't
still-
believe they
so-
have.
That's,
But I know some of us, I'm on the Medical Reserve Corps, I have to, because of this position and other positions.
right.
But the ones that are the occasional come in volunteer people, those, they can probably fit in this category. Some of the others have to by nature of other things that they do,
Right.
have to take it.
Well,
But-
why don't we just table it for now and, take a look at it, and if there's any issues, let us know, and then we can bring it back, maybe in 2 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks, 4 weeks.
in addition to the motion tonight, which you can approve, that we can
We should look at all of them,
We can
actually.
bring back others that are listed in the,
Sure.
as eligible for the exclusion.
Makes sense. Any motion? Any thoughts? Motion, I'll take a motion.
Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Section B of the State Ethics Commission's mandatory education and training guidelines to approve the town clerk's request to exempt participants and the Senior Citizen Tax Abate Program pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 59, subsection 5K, for both of the mandatory training and education requirements of the Conflict of Interest Law.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
We got you out of here early.
Yeah.
All right, let's, we're only off 15 minutes here. Let's go back to the fiscal year 2014 budget update, the operating budget and the capital improvement plans. Obviously, this is the thickest piece of paper in my packet, so there's got a lot to be talked about here, right?
Yes. Basically, this is just an update as to where we are in the budget process and to show you what assumptions that we're using currently in the documents that you've got attached. We do a 5-year rolling projection. We update it, pretty much every other week at this time of year, it seems like. So I just want to give you a picture of where we are right now. We are still level funded in our state aid projections, both on the town and the school side. I know that the governor's version of the budget has come out, and it's shown about a $150,000 increase to state aid total, both on the town and the school side combined. We are not using those projections at this point. They might be a little bit robust for the long term of this early venture in the budget process. I'd rather be conservative and then be able to add that funding later if it materializes. So again, we're looking at a level funded state aid projections on both town and school side. We're looking at a small increase of about a little bit over 4% in local receipts, primarily due to the new meals tax revenue that should be coming in.
What's that gonna equate to in
About
revenue?
$60,000.
That's our projection, right? We haven't seen
That's
any of these
that's
checks,
based on
right?
the current, that's based on
The
the,
state, the Department of Revenue's projection.
yeah, based on the current establishments that we have.
Correct.
But that doesn't come in until year end?
It actually will
In the
start,
quarter.
it will come in at
Quarterly,
year end, but
right?
we're starting at January 1st
Right,
of
but
this fiscal year.
but we don't get it till August.
We'll get it in June.
Oh,
June.
June, it's every 6 months.
Yes, June 30th is when they start.
So is it every 6 months or is it every year? I thought it was
I
once a year.
believe it's biannually, but I
Okay.
can check that. As
But
far
it-
as when we receive it, that's a cash flow issue.
Right, that doesn't matter
We can
because we still
program it.
goes to that
Correct.
year, okay. Okay.
So that's really the major driver for that. If we had taken that out, I would have had about a 1% increase in
So 60,000 is for the,
meals.
is it the remainder of this fiscal year, or is that for
We're not,
calendar year?
we're looking at fiscal 14. So for fiscal 14 entirely, we're looking at a $60,000.
Which is collected in 14, paid in
14,
December
paid
and
in
June.
14.
So, just to get off subject a little bit, so we will have something coming in June of this year to apply to fiscal 13?
No, because
No.
the tax rate's already been set.
Oh,
So if anything comes in, it will go to the undesignated fund balance and be available next year.
oh, okay, all right,
Gotcha.
all right, but still, all right.
Or it would be used to offset any shortfalls we got in revenue, like the 9C cuts that we,
Right, we can still use it this year.
it will net itself out. We can't appropriate it, but
okay.
it'll work itself through the
Alright.
balance sheet. We're looking at about 300,000 in new growth. This number is one of the things that will change as we get closer to August. As Ken Mildren is working the building permits that come in, and he works with Roland to figure out what projects are underway.
Is
So they
that
might be-
primarily based on permitting, or is that based on actual property taxes?
It's permitting. It's based on building permits that are taken out.
That's good to hear.
We're looking at the 2.5% increase allowed in the levy limit.
You know, at some point, we've got to do something about that. I mean, every year, it's like automatic, we just go up 2.5%. And our taxes just keep going up.
But our insurance goes up 10%, so,
Well, we go
I
up,
understand that.
I know, I'm with you, I feel the frustration,
Some
it's,
point,
at some point.
Pose that as a challenge to the finance group and finance committee to try to determine a way to go from maybe 2.5 down to maybe 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I think, I just brought this up a couple of times, but I couldn't agree more. That we can't assume that we automatically have 2.5%. Obviously, we're in a position where we need this just to keep things going, but we can't just make the assumption we get it.
Right.
Well-
And if there's any way not to do 2.5%, I think we owe it to the townspeople to, look at those possibilities.
I saw the article in the Boston Globe
Great in theory.
yesterday. Did anybody else see
Yeah.
that article about how much our taxes have gone up in the past 5 years? Like 23-24%, somewhere in that ballpark over the
They're
last
about to go up
5
more.
years? And they're gonna go up again and go up again. I just think we need to take a look at that and see what we can do.
Well-
Come up- get creative and come up
Well,
with something that,
I think what we need to do creative is we need to direct them, because the policy pretty much is now always 2.5%, always, so we need to, we're gonna send our goals to the FinCom tonight, I hope, that we're gonna discuss some of our goals to them. So if that's one of our goals for this year, next year, whatever, I think we have to formalize it, not just say, hey, let's work on it in the future, that's all I'm saying.
It's gotta be something that's a little further out in the.
I don't think we're gonna be able to do it for 14, but probably 15.
Well, let's
Well-
make the decision and get it to the FinCom, that's
Well,
all.
even
think you
for,
can do it.
yeah, even for fiscal 14, for start, what's the 2.5% is equal to what dollar amount?
About 600,000.
Okay, so you've got $600,000 in increased levy capacity. On top of that, Bonnie's figure for next year is 300,000 for new growth, total of 900,000, which is programmed into the spending plan, and even with that, you're $350,000 short for the budget that's proposed
14?
right now, for
Yeah.
14, even with the 2.5% base plus the additional from new growth. Even with that, we have a shortfall that we have to close. Maybe we can close some of that with the group health numbers when we get those. The other, and $165,000 of that 350 deficit is proposed new positions in the fire department. So there are budget gaps to close there. For future years, the new growth figures, once the point gets online, we may see new growth similar to what we saw with IBM. Same is true with the 40B, that you'll have additional new growth figures, but that's on top of the 2.5% base that's built in. Bonnie's projections over time, if we're facing a $350,000 shortfall this year, it's millions in future years, just based on what our current assumptions are.
I understand that.
So if we're cutting, we don't have enough money now to pay for the current service levels carried out. And if we're talking about reducing the amount of money that we have from the property tax levy, then those deficits are even larger. So it's not an easy problem.
No, it's not an easy problem. I'm not saying it is an easy problem to solve, but it's something that I think, we need to take a closer look at to see what we can do. I mean, it's just an automatic 2.5% every year, it's impacting, I can say for me, it's impacting me, it's gotta be impacting everybody else that lives in this fair town.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a statement of the obvious, there's two ways to close the gap, so we have to look at, what is that increasing, and can we live without some of that, and can we reduce in some of those areas? I mean, the only way to close the gap is not just a tax, you can cut too, and, cut certain places in the school department, and people have learned, but I mean, that's just the philosophy, I understand what Keith is saying exactly,
Yep.
but that gap gets closed two ways.
Well, even if we start with something as simple as, with the 2.5, this is our budget. Without the 2.5, this is our budget, and that changes one number. That changes the spread of the structural deficit. But it just, any step, see, it's really timely that you said that, because, here I am putting all my numbers together for my business and stuff this year, and when you look at the numbers before taxes, you had a pretty damn good year. And then you look at the taxes, and now it's a bad year. And so, this is going up, that's going up, everything's going up, and I'm going, how long am I gonna be able to do this? And everybody else has gotta be in the same shape. I mean, nobody's making more money now than
All
they
right.
were.
I think that, I guess, the statement that I made was more or less, let's look at this. I'm not saying eliminate the 2.5 increase, but maybe if we could go 2% one year, just show the taxpayers something. We know we've got revenue streams coming in fiscal year 15, fiscal year 16. We know we've got stuff eventually coming off the books, 20? So maybe we can look at it fiscal year 20. I don't know, but let's look at a plan to see if we've got to make cuts on one side, to Mr. Doucette's point, cuts on one side, and maybe not have as much money to work with on the other side. Something's got to be done. I mean, it just can't keep going up year after year after
Well,
year.
let me vent my frustration with this. I just have to say it, because we keep talking about close these gaps, stop spending. Yet this board voted to continue plowing private property this year. That's an easy $50,000-$60,000. You know, you talk about cutting things, you talk about maintaining services to the town, and then, you know, you go ahead and give a benefit to people.
Yeah, but that
I'm
works.
sorry, I just have to vent on that.
That works multiple ways, because one of my proposals a while ago is we have a hiring freeze, it's a hiring freeze, it's a hiring freeze. And you know what? If we did that, we wouldn't have deficit right now. So let's not worry about what our pet peeves are. Let's get together a plan and say, well, if we're gonna look at this, let's look at it hard. That's one of the things. Hiring freeze is another thing. Consolidation of services is another thing. All those things
What I'm
that we
saying-
have to look at.
What I'm saying is, we're all talking the talk, we have to walk the walk, and this board has not done that in at least that one instance that I've seen. So,
Well, we did walk the walk, but we got turned over at town meeting.
You can hand your walking papers.
yeah, but that's, yes, all right, we can get into it, but I mean, that's,
I'm not gonna
But
get
that's-
into a
but that's
private,
our policy.
private
That's our
driveway
policy, right.
plowing. I know it's a
But
sore
I'm-
spot for you.
no, it's not, it's private plowing is not a sore spot for me. Spending money that we don't need to spend is the sore spot for me. And that's the one example that I've identified and I can think of right now. There's probably a few more out there, but that's the one right now that comes to mind. When we're all talking, let's close this gap, yet you go back 3 months ago and we all, this board said, let's go and spend another extra money on stuff we don't have to do. So, thank you for, and I apologize, I should apologize for, I probably a little more.
Mr. Chairman, we only got as far as 2.5.
Yeah,
So,
We still got a lot to go on with.
yeah.
go ahead, Bonnie.
No, no
We digress here a little bit.
Not a problem. On the expense side, the assumptions that we've got in the budget that we're showing you this evening is the additional staffing in the fire department based on the 24-hour scenario that was presented by Chief Lozinski a few weeks ago. That's an additional $165,000 over the level staffing budget, so that's an amount that is out there. We're assuming level staffing of all town departments, no increase in hours or body counts?
Well, we were up until
Yes, of all other departments.
recent discussion.
And there's, step increases are accounted for within the operating budget, 0% COLA is assumed. And we are also looking at an assumption of a 5% increase in the school appropriation, which is about $780,000, based on some previous references, that a level service budget would require a $16.4 million appropriation. And this would include the deferred step that need to be paid in fiscal 14. And the use of $500,000 in school reserves towards the school budget. So those are the general nuts and bolts that we're looking at here. So even at this very early stage in the planning process, we're looking at a structural deficit of $350,000 for fiscal 14, and that would continue through fiscal 18 at 1.1 million.
That 350K is assuming that we make the changes with the fire department
Correct.
and assuming that there's a 0% COLA.
Correct.
Okay. What's the chances of that COLA being 0%?
It's 100%.
It's
because-
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely
because
is.
we've got 3-year union contracts that, and 0%,
And
That's
non-union.
right, that's right.
and the non-union, the personnel board is also committed to honoring that.
Okay, good.
For the same period of time.
So we're pretty comfortable with those figures there. The thing that we're waiting for is final information on the fringe benefit costs. We've got a projected increase in health insurance benefits of about 10%. So if we're able to recognize some savings in that premium increase, then there may be some reduction in that overall deficit. We're also assuming the level funding of the state assessments, which is like, school choice out, charter out, those types of things that hit our cherry sheet revenue. So again, once we get some better calculations on that, we'll be able to adjust the budget. Other solutions that, could be out there to close that gap if those figures don't provide enough relief, making budget reductions or override scenarios, which I know is unappetizing, but
That's not
on either end.
advertising.
As we talked about.
As we compare this to last year, I mean, it doesn't sound like we're in too bad shape.
Relatively speaking, Roy,
Relatively
it
speaking.
seems like we always start out, hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
apart, and then as figures work themselves through, we find a way to balance. This is similar to last year. It's very similar.
Well, last year, the override was never used even in the statement, so
Oh, no, we did.
We did?
We threw it out there. The reason that it did not materialize at the end is because we had the major savings in the health insurance that we're able to apply to the deficits.
Being very general in this, the changes we want to make, that we talked about, can we do it without having an override?
I know that that's the desire of the board, so I'm working very hard to not have that, be the scenario as we did last year. It's just so early in the stage. Until like the next few weeks, I'll get information from Maya. I'll know a little bit more about the fringe benefit issues, and I'll have a better picture of what the true deficit's gonna be. We also need information from the school department. This is an assumption on a number that they have not weighed in on yet. So it could be one way or the other. I think
So
it's
possible, but it's
it could be worse. I mean, I don't,
unlikely, yeah. Yeah.
it could be a worse scenario, but it's so early in the process to really.
But we'll know what the numbers look like in another month and a half.
I'd say we'd have a better picture in the next, like the middle of February.
I agree with Joe. We sort of started off, it might not have been Joe, it might have been you, but we started off with this kind of, looking at this kind of difference, and we worked our way along, and finally, got to it. And last year, all we did was decide we wanted to start this a little earlier, and we did. So I'm somewhat optimistic that we have the people in place that are going to make this work.
Some of the other things in here, I just gave you a little summary on the fire department staffing that we discussed before.
Yep.
To bring the 5 additional EMTs on for 24-hour coverage. Also, as one of the items that was identified by the board was to increase the senior work program budget. We had $50,000 in there for the past 3 years. We did use a $55,000 figure in this set of budget worksheets, which is about a 10% increase, but again, it hasn't increased in 3 years. So if you weigh that out over the 3 years, it's about 3% a year. The other thing that we talked about the last time we were together was public works and facilities.
Can I put you on hold for a minute?
Yeah.
Is this long? Is this gonna be a long discussion?
Okay.
What's that?
Go ahead.
No, I just wanna recuse myself, it's gonna be a long discussion.
Oh, no.
Just
No,
taking
we're
this
still-
summary?
We're still working on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
We'll
just
have
a-
something more formal to bring to the meeting in February.
Right, we
Okay.
have
Still
started that,
working
but
on it.
we're not,
Okay.
just to let you know that we're working on it.
Okay.
And that's really it, for now. But again, I think in the next, by February 15th, we'll have a much better picture of where we really are. I'll have some better figures on the benefits, and that'll be telling. And maybe we'll have some more information from the school department. I'll have the Neshoba assessment in there. That may change things, so.
Do we want to discuss the meeting on the 14th with the FinCom at this point?
I think we want to give some clear direction to them of our priorities. That's what I think.
How's everyone's schedule look for making that meeting? I know I cannot.
I was gonna make tomorrow, but it's
You're probably the only one.
okay. Joe was too.
I mean, yeah, I know. After thinking about it, I could too. I could slip out of my other meeting. I mean, February 14th, that's a Thursday?
No.
No, it's the 12th.
This is the 14th? Oh, 12th, I'm sorry.
February 12th.
12th, jeez, if I went on the 14th, I'd be in trouble. Yeah, Tuesdays. My Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the month of February, every one of them's booked up.
I mean, I'll probably have sewer, but I can, this can be a priority. I'm no longer chair, so I can step away. Tell me about it.
So do we have enough of a board showing up for that meeting? At this point, we don't know if Selectman Carr not here, but can anybody else make that meeting?
I'll be there.
I don't know if you'll be there.
I think so.
Okay.
What time is it?
7.
7.
Where? Here?
Here in this room.
Okay, thank you.
Live. on
Live?
TV.
On TV. Okay, it sounds like we're gonna have at least 3 members, possibly
Yes,
4.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think I'll be the only
that'll
one
work.
that won't be here.
We'll let FinCom know. Is there a particular direction from this board that you would want to have in preparation for that meeting?
It would be helpful, maybe just to have some direction from the board on if you were looking at reducing the reliance on the 2.5 levy, to have me start looking at that for future years and see
Yeah,
what that would
I
do
don't
to the
think that's
deficit.
gonna be possible in
I'd like to-
14. I mean, I think that, not this year coming up.
No, I don't.
I think maybe 15 or 16, maybe.
I'd like to answer Keith's question that, about, is there some direction they want? I was emailing with Paul Glavy today, and he said that they're meeting tomorrow night, so even though we can't be there, if we could give them some sort of direction on our priorities, that'd give them something to work with. So,
Well, I think we have a new piece added to the puzzle based on the email that were going on over the weekend about the ambulance. That's now gotta be another discussion.
well, that's gonna be capital. Well then, right?
Yeah, that's still something we've got to plan for.
Right, okay, so that's one thing. Is that one thing we're giving priority? I think for priorities are, I mean, very simple that we haven't done before is, what we've always done before is, we wanted no override. Right?
Yeah, that's a given.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Well, it's not no given, they asked us, all right? You know, do we want to prioritize any of these other additional increases? Do we want to have them seriously consider the additional staffing by fire? Do we want that in there? Do we want to try to make that work at all costs?
well, I think we ought to try to make it work. I don't know about all costs, because now you could be talking about an override to make it happen.
All right, so that's a priority, is to try to, is to
If
get,
it can be, if it
to
can be
get the
done
fire.
within the budget without an override.
and this was the
at least
level,
I'm one person speaking here, but
Yeah.
I would certainly support it.
Is it to say do as much as you can with fire staffing within
Right.
within
the levy limit?
well, our priority is to have that go, is to make that happen this year. That's one of our priorities, get fire to, this was the step, what would you call it, level 1, and that's what the 165 is?
65 is the level one,
Is there anything else that people want to discuss to add in there? Do we want to keep the senior work program where it is? I can look at Paul's. You guys, if you guys want to come up with anything else, I'm going to just run through Paul's. How about the Park and Rec? Are we going to keep them level,
yeah. Oh, funding?
the funding? He says here redirecting 60,000, but is that just keeping the 60, is it
It's
keeping it from
basically-
last year?
We're not reducing it anymore.
Right now, we've kind of held it where it is.
From-
And so it's built into the budget, so it's not 60, it's 40.
41, is that
Right.
41?
So what's this redirecting 60? So, oh, that would be bringing it back up, that would, all right. So what's our priorities for Park and Rec? Do we want to keep them where they were last year? Do we want to increase them, or do we want to continue on this gradual reduction?
We don't want a gradual reduction.
No,
we
I think
Well,
we're
I
gonna
think we
hold
wanna
it.
talk about this year, and this year, I think we've already decided
Yeah,
that
we're
we're
gonna hold it
where it
gonna hold
is.
it where it is.
Okay, that's not clear from the finance committee.
No,
They don't
it's-
understand that.
Well,
It's clear from
Clear,
us.
it was clear.
Right,
Here.
it's here, but
Here.
we,
Yeah.
they want, we gotta tell them. All right, so hold Park and Rec and community education at
41.
2013 levels? No increase at all, no, just,
No,
No, I-
when we had that discussion, I think
yeah.
that's because they were talking about being forced to reduce, needing to increase, and I think the ground we fell on was, well, why don't we stay where we are and work this up?
Bonnie,
As we go
where,
ahead.
is that $60,000 in this
No, it's
349?
not, 60
Oh,
was last year's.
The
figure.
40.
41 is held into these budget
And
documents.
so if we hold that 40, this 349 deficit doesn't change?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So, because Paul's was, what else is cut, okay. So are there any other directives or priorities to start?
One thing, I have a question for you, Alex. You were talking about earlier about the staffing, how you didn't want to see any increases in staffing.
No, we were talking about, Ted was talking about the, about plowing
Right.
of private roads, and I'm, like, 4 years ago, I said, let's do a hiring freeze and keep it a hiring freeze, and there was a whole bunch of votes where we filled positions, and I was voting against them. All I'm referring to is that's another point, that we could have held the line.
No,
We didn't.
I guess I'm asking you, just to, so clear it up, obviously, one of the things we want to put down, we want to try to increase the staffing in the fire department, but that wouldn't go against what you were talking about.
No, I'm no longer, I don't see my original plan as workable at this point. What, 4 years ago, to me, is different than today.
Okay.
I think we had the window of opportunity then that we don't have now to do that, so my plan doesn't work.
Well, my only thought about that is those are unpredictable, and we can deal with them at the time. Because hiring freeze means you're not backfilling, you're not gonna refill a position, so we really can't, it's hard, even if we were to take that policy, we wouldn't be able to predict that and put it into the numbers anyway, correct?
Well, all I was doing at the time was we created the policy, and then we had a series of votes
Yeah.
saying we were gonna hire people.
Yeah.
And so I was making the point, well, we created the policy, let's not hire people.
Right,
And that's.
But we always hired, we always checked with Bonnie to make sure that if there was a hire, it stayed within the.
Stayed with.
Yes,
and that's where we're at right now, we have that hiring review policy that states whether or not this position is really needed, or if we can do without, there's all sorts of steps that they have to go to, so.
and what we've done is changed the policy.
Right.
And I like the new policy better than I like the original
Right.
policy.
Right,
So,
but what I'm saying is that I think if we were to give them a priority of a hiring freeze, that doesn't help them with their numbers at all, because they can't predict who's gonna leave this year.
no, I don't think hiring freeze is on the table at this point.
Okay.
I think that's gone by, other than the policy we have of review.
What do people think about school committee budget? Right now, they're budgeting, right now Bonnie's holding a 5% increase in the school appropriation. Is that what we want to direct her, or do we want to direct her less than that, or do we want to direct her more than that?
What is the total increase on our side
$780,000.
in
For
the
the
Oh,
percentage?
No,
I'm
the
sorry,
school.
the percentage? With the fire staffing, which is what I have in here. It's, with the fire staffing, it's 7.51%.
That's what the 350 represents, 350,
Yes.
349. That 349 takes into account the school's 780,
Correct, and the fire department's 165.
but obviously, it's not a linear because we have the new growth, and we have other revenue coming in. All right. I'm sorry if I interrupted,
No,
I was on
I-
train of thought.
This is a good discussion.
So we're at 350 deficit with the school increasing 5% of 780. So if we were to get rid of, if we were to tell them to be level funded, we'd be in the black, 330.
Correct.
Correct.
You mean level funded across the boards?
No, if the school appropriation was level funded, our 350 deficit now would be up to a 340,
The difference between, with 780.
780, so we'd be $330,000 in the black.
Before.
What do you call it? What do you call it? If you're not in
Is that a
not deficit,
realistic-
what's that?
Black is
In the
good.
black's good?
How realistic is that?
Yeah, how are we gonna be able to do that? I mean,
No, I'm saying, I'm just giving you comparison. I'm trying to wrap my head around the
Black
numbers,
With 8 black eyes, I think.
but as I'm wrapping my head around these numbers, I'm trying to say it again so I understand and maybe get some other thoughts on it. So, I mean, I'm just giving you, they're asking for 5%. You know, if they got 2.5%, the whole 14 looks like it would be closer to being balanced.
See, the particular problem
Just saying.
we have for the schools in 2014 is that number supports the deferred costs that were associated with
Mhm.
this year. And that, essentially,
Step.
that the service level is not affected.
Correct.
They're paying for the same service level because they shifted that step to next year, and now it's time to pay for that.
Yeah. And I'm not advocating either way. We need to tell the finance committee which way to go.
I think maybe identifying what our priorities are,
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily have to identify them to where we get to we don't wanna go through this and say, this is how we get to the budget number that we want, where we don't have the deficit.
No, I don't think that detail's
we need to say
required.
as a board, these are important to us.
Okay,
And that's it, because we just heard Bonnie say,
right,
things are gonna be very different in 4 weeks.
right.
So I think all we need to do is give them some guidance about what's important for this board.
And that's what I've been doing for the last 15 minutes. That's all I'm trying to do. So is that a priority to increase the school appropriation by 5%, or is it a priority to hold it at level funding for us?
First of all, school committee obviously controls their own budget, and
But-
we can ask, we can make the
No,
request.
but we're making our priorities, FinCom is asking for us, give our priorities. Okay, where'd the 5% number come from?
This is based on a level staffing budget. Sorry, a level service budget that was discussed informally several months ago.
Level service, okay.
Level service, so just not an addition to programs, not just keeping what they have currently in
Status
place.
quo.
Which is what we've done essentially on the town side. We've level funded expenses, but we've done level service in staffing. So just to have parity, that's where that number
Is that the
And
board?
that equals a 5% increase just by happenstance. That-
And just based on what our recent, years and negotiations with the school department, we would do well as the town side if the schools ended up at a level service
Right.
budget and we're not increasing.
We do well financially, right.
Yeah.
But,
We could manage, that would be manageable, it would be more manageable than if they came forward with a budget that was increasing services.
So based on what we know, it's gonna increase 5%.
A level service budget is
It's a 5%.
equals a 780 or 5% increase. And again, part of that is the steps that are payable now that
right,
I say we just let that go the way it is for now and see what, we'd all like to see it lower, but
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't wanna be firing shots across the bow with the school committee either.
No, you're not firing shots across the bow, you're actually saying something, you're just, would, rather than, if you just sit here and don't say anything, we're just sitting here wallowing and stuff, we're not getting any closer. I think we need to say something, and I think Joe has said it, that we want to go with this assumption here. Say, okay, we're okay with the assumptions that you made about the 5% so far, we don't see a reason to change that assumption.
it might be better to state that you want to maintain a level
Support-
service budget.
Yeah, support a level service
Yes.
budget for the school department.
But we're not gonna make any headway if we don't say anything.
oh, put it down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you send the signal that you support a level service budget, you may actually get a level
Right.
service budget, which would
No, I think that's a good,
be
good way to
pretty
approach
good.
it.
But we're still gonna be short.
Well,
Just a-
we've got some other
a point of
moving
order.
parts, including group health, that maybe we can
Do you have to
close the
open the
gap.
hearing at 8 o'clock, just to?
Oh, I do, yeah. Thanks, Joe, I wasn't even looking at the clock.
You're
My
just
mind's-
having too much fun?
Yeah, my mind's in 15 different places tonight. Just for, Mr. Knox brought up, we need to open and continue the public hearing, Rackham Toyota of Littleton.
And you want to move it to, actually,
Yeah,
March
we're
25th.
moving it to,
Thanks, chief.
thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
What was it, March 25th?
Instead of February 25th in the motion, it should be March 25th. Mr. Moran's not available on February 25th.
I'll
I
look
think you
for,
heard Greg was going to be out of town, so.
I'll look for a motion then.
Sneak it in again?
We gotta open the hearing again.
No, it's just a continuation.
Yeah, you want to.
I just
You
need a
can say
motion.
that you're reopening the hearing and then invite a motion
Yeah.
to continue.
Reopening the hearing and invite the motion to continue.
I'll make the motion, move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 58-59, to reconvene and continue to Monday, March 25th, 2013, at 8 p.m., the public hearing on the request of R.R. Moran Limited, doing business as Acton Toyota of Littleton, to amend its Class 1 license to buy, sell, exchange, or assemble new and used motor vehicles or parts thereof at 221 Great Road.
Second. Moving and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, back on point. So, I don't have an issue with that, requesting that the school committee, state level funded, which means a 5% increase if they can do that.
Okay, but we're not requesting anything in the school committee.
We're talking
They're,
to
they,
FinCom
yeah, we're
about
telling FinCom what our
priorities.
priorities, the numbers to plug into their budget and see what makes works. And then school committee comes up with their number, disagrees with what we had.
We're still gonna end up being short, but
Okay, so I'll list off, I have 4 priorities that I've put together tonight, to direct, and I assume I don't have to send an email, Bonnie, you can take these down and bring them to them tomorrow night.
I've got them in
You've
my
got, so,
summary.
all right, so no override. We want to try to include the additional staffing for fire We want to hold park and rec and community education at the 2013 level, and we would like to see a level of service in the
Support
school.
a level service budget for the schools. Yeah. Got it.
Thank you for your eloquence. Anything else?
Sounds like it contradicts itself, but I'll go along with it.
Okay. So do we need to comment on any of the capital things?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's next. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're looking at the revised
Yep.
handout.
I provided you with a printout of the revised capital memo. The revisions include, it's just that it's more inclusive of all of the items that were requested, so you can get a good picture of everything that's been asked for fiscal 2014. So basically, fiscal 2014 includes $1,689,000 in requests for capital. Just as in comparison, in fiscal 13, the town appropriated $1,539,000 in capital inside the levy limit. So of the $1,689,000 in request for 14, we can support a funding level based on these preliminary assumptions of $1,476,000. The Finance Committee has seen the request for capital. They have not weighed any opinions in on them yet, and they will do so over the next few weeks. So again, this is just to kind of give you an idea of what's available and what's being requested. The funding sources. We're anticipating that we'll have $838,000 in undesignated fund balance available for capital. We've also earmarked $414,000 inside the levy limit, which is accumulated from retired debt service, which we use on capital. $220,000 estimated, that's kind of a ballpark, within about $20,000 in community preservation funding proposed projects. So that will be funded from the CPC fund itself. And $4,000 in available revolving funds for a total of the $1,476,000 that I referenced earlier. So that's what we have available right now.
And so that 414,000 inside the levy cannot be used for anything else. It's
Now, under the fiscal policies,
Specifically for
yes.
capital.
Under the fiscal policy adopted by the board in 2010, retired debt service doesn't roll to the operating budget. It can be used for capital at one time. Either new debt service or, funding the capital item directly. So basically, we're short of $213,000 over the requests. And the funding that we go through, you can see is as follows. So the police department, we have the cruiser leases. This is the final year payments. The $75,000 is the final year payments for a few different leases. 2 cruisers, actually 3 cruisers, and an unmarked vehicle, 2 unmarked vehicles. And again, it's the final payment. We've kind of structured them all so that they'd be done in fiscal 14 going forward. We will be purchasing the vehicles outright, which will save us the financing costs and the bank fees that are associated with these lease purchase agreements. It's not a lot of money, but it's, it's a couple $1,000s a year, so every little bit. Police vehicle maintenance, $5,000, primarily for tire replacement and for the fleet that they've got. And I think there's 14, how many vehicles?
There's 6 marked and then 4 unmarked.
Yeah. There's a vehicle refurbishment rather than a replacement being requested for a 2008 Dodge Charger. And then there are portable radio replacements in the amount of $11,600 to replace the portables in the command and the detective vehicles.
What's involved with a refurbishment of a car?
The reason we selected this car actually had an engine go about 5,000 miles ago under warranty. It was a car that would have slated that typically I would have got rid of because it would have had, well, right now it's at 100, just at 101,000, but it has an engine on it with only about 15,000 on it now, I guess. So the vehicle I selected, instead of turning it over to save some money, they'll rebuild the transmission. They put new struts, new arms, new rear ends in it. Basically, they refurb all the major working components of the car, and we'll get another. We should get another 2, possibly 3 years out of it. And the reason, again, that car was selected, it's not worth it to refurb it if it replaced the engine. The Dodge Charger Hemi engine's about, just under, right around $11,000 for the engine those cars run. But where they replaced the engine on them, it was worth it to keep this car and turn it over into the fleet,
This was originally gonna be a request for a straight-out replacement, you know, at the $30,000 mark.
which
so.
would have been about a $40,000 price tag when it's all done.
So that's something though, rolling into the 17, 18, maybe replacing that, rolling out, like, the 13's buying us a couple more years out on that?
14, maybe 19, yeah.
Yeah. Deputy Chief, you said 6 Mark, 4 unmarked. Where's the motorcycle in that? That's, motorcycle in addition to that?
Yeah, actually it is, but that comes out of community donations.
That's out of donations every
Right,
year?
it's not typically, it's not a budget item.
And that is a
Right.
straight lease typically, so it's usually just, I don't know,
Yeah.
a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
25, or
Yeah.
3,500 this year.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's, well, we can get into that later.
Okay, for the fire department. The major equipment and repair is a recurring item, it's $15,000 for the, repair and maintenance for the major equipments, the apparatus that they have in their fleet. We are up for an ambulance replacement for $250,000 to replace the 2006 ambulance, which Keith had mentioned is out of service, I think, still.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that the one with the wiring harness issue?
Yes.
The UHF radio system upgrade, this is an important one, $120,000. It's a part one of a two-part program. There'll be an additional appropriation in fiscal 15 to complete this project. We are looking for grant funding for this, but as of right now, we've not been awarded, so we need to include it in here and at least hold the place mark. I'm
Did
sure.
you get a Dear John letter?
No,
No, so you're still in it.
we're still in. Yes.
Still in the running? Do you have any idea when you might get a yea or nay on that?
We're not sure. We're currently in the process of closing out the, was it the 2006 SAFER grant? And it might be as simple as when they receive the final closeout of that, we may get an answer, one way or another.
There was a delay in the grant program for a while, and it's just getting started again. I'm seeing a lot of grants for things coming across now, so.
So there's hope for that.
There's also a request for $44,000 for a command vehicle, which would be in addition to fleet for the proposed deputy chief position, which would be coming up later this evening for discussion, so. Then there are thermal imaging system replacements and upgrades, $30,000 to replace the current systems that are 11 years old, and they're no longer manufactured. Fire station generator, this is in conjunction with the PMBC, and they're looking to replace the undersized generator at 20 Foster Street, and this would support a 150 kilowatt generator that would power the existing facility in the way that it needs to be. I know right now the current system's pretty unreliable, and they've had some issues with it in the last few months anyway. And then a modular building located at the facility at Foster Street in the amount of $38,410. And again, this would be if the additional staffing is approved for the department, they need to have sleeping quarters. And it's a cheaper alternative at this point than having an addition put onto the station. In the in the highway department, there are a couple also recurring requests, $15,000 for the major equipment repair and upkeep, a loader refurbishment at $35,000. And again, Jimmy's been doing really well with the refurbishments versus the straight-out replacements. So this is a 2003 loader. A dump truck.
Buy the two?
We did one this fiscal year. This
I was
is
gonna say,
the other one.
we did a refurbishment.
Yeah, they have two.
Yeah.
So he's trying to do, stagger them out. The highway dump truck, this is a replacement of a 2004 vehicle for $58,000, and it would have all the plows and everything else that it needs. Asphalt hot box trailer, this is the new item. It's a trailer-mounted hot box for use in roadway repair and maintenance. It would store the asphalt at the temperature it needs to be stored at while they're using it. Jimmy thinks that this would be a benefit. It would help them also recycle some material that they might have on hand when they're doing road reclamation. They could reuse the material otherwhere for patching. And the hot box patching lasts longer than the cold patch, so this is something he'd like to have. Forklift purchase, this is $15,000. He priced out a refurbished or a used forklift for use at their facility for moving material. I think he mentioned it at a previous meeting.
Does the light department have one?
Yes, they do. The reason he's asking for it is there's some difficulty in actually getting access to it at the times that they need it, because when the light department's using it is also a lot of the time that the highway department needs it. They're driven by the same needs at the same time, so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sidewalk paver, $20,000, to purchase a sidewalk paver for use in repairs and maintenance. It's a better piece of equipment for repairing this type of, asset. A roll-off dumpster truck, he's looking to purchase a refurbished or a used, container truck for use at the transfer station for moving those large containers around when he needs to. And sidewalk
Is that
repairs.
something that's only gonna be used up there, or does he have plans for it?
Just at the transfer station. There are no other containers that would be used for this.
You use a loader for that, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, we'll see.
Again, these
I'm
are just
saying, yeah.
requests, these
No,
are
I
the
know.
requests. And sidewalk repairs, this is one of the items that was requested, kind of discussed in previous school committee, but it's put under the highway budget just because they're the ones that would manage the
No,
repairs.
the school committee said they were gonna do it, though.
They did the repairs, or they're committing to doing the repairs at the Shaker Lane School and the high school, but they are requesting in their capital plan items.
Okay, this is separate,
So
all
this
right.
is separate, yeah.
Sorry, okay.
Um,
This is separate than what they had said they would take care of.
Yes.
All right.
This is
Thank you.
additional scope of work. They're
Okay.
taking care of the emergency repairs that need to get them through the winter.
Okay.
Shaker, and to the schools. The Shaker Lane Univents, this is a continued, it's like a 10-year plan. This is, I think, the fourth year or fifth year in that 10-year plan. $25,000 for Univent replacements at Shaker Lane. The school iPads and carts, $33,000. This is the second year payment on the lease, and it's a 4-year agreement.
But that's, why is that under district? The $33,000 for the iPad cards?
Yes,
That's under district, right?
yes.
They're not used at the district, though, are they?
It's my understanding that they're used all through the district.
Okay, so it's not used
Not,
in the district offices, is my
no,
information.
no,
Okay,
through the district, yes.
okay, that's a little misleading, all right.
School technology, $25,000, to upgrade the network infrastructure and firewall switching in the district. Under school security, we have $15,000 to upgrade the external video camera systems at the high school. We also have $30,000, to replace the boys' locker room lockers at the high school.
Why do those need to be replaced?
It's my understanding that they're damaged, they are in severe disrepair.
From abuse? I mean, how long they been
Well,
been
the
in service for what?
10
10
years.
years?
And a little bit more.
But the women's don't have to be
No.
replaced, so, okay.
Someone must have been mad that they lost the game.
I say, yeah.
The school department did request $10,000 to be allocated for general maintenance. That's a new item. Technology, computer replacements, $50,000 just to replace computer systems throughout the district that need to be replaced due to age or repair. They are looking for high school Wi-Fi upgrades, $40,000 to upgrade the Wi-Fi system there. And the Russell Street School playground, $30,000 to upgrade the playground and equipment there. Custodial equipment, they're looking for $8,000 for the purchase of a maintenance lift for the use in the district.
Is there a specific school that they're gonna use
No,
now?
they use it throughout the district as
Just
needed.
throughout.
Yep, of the buildings. Shaker Lane bathroom door dividers, $10,000 to replace the door dividers at the Shaker Lane School. Shaker
Is that
Lane,
a security issue, that's why they need to replace them, or is it something else?
it's a repair issue.
Just a repair.
Privacy issue.
Shaker Lane playground and fencing, $30,000 for the playground equipment and fencing in that area. And Wi-Fi upgrades at the Shaker Lane School also for $35,000.
Why is it 35 at Shaker Lane and 40 at the high school?
That I'm not sure. I don't have the detail on the backup detail for the capital request. I just had the amounts and the requests.
So, Bonnie, would it upset the apple cart to resort some of these too much? Like the one, because there are a couple things here for the district building, and then there's a couple things that are district-wide. Would it be trouble to get another category in here so it's more clear?
No, that's not a problem. So you wanna have like for use between the buildings and
We have,
central offices?
yeah, you have
and-
district here, right, and you have the replace firewall switches. That's like at the district, that's at the district building here.
Mhm.
And under the same category, you have iPads, carts throughout the schools. And then there was another item down here that was throughout the schools too, I think. Oh, well, the lift, I thought you said it was gonna be throughout the schools, so
Right.
if we could,
Yeah, I can
just reorder- just be a
clarify the
little more clear,
location,
yeah.
maybe.
and when, is there a time when we meet with the school committee or anybody else requesting these items to ask these questions like Greg and we're asking about why they need these things and to prioritize them at all?
I believe that we're meeting
February 12th, isn't it?
12th.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, the school committee will be there. I don't know if
I was,
we'll be able to get into detail on those.
yeah, I've
capital
asked
budgets that night.
for the capital items to be expanded upon, just so that we'll have the rest of the backup. I don't have any backup for these at this point.
Because I know like highway and police,
There's a-
they're under us, so
Correct.
it's easy, so we can go to them directly and ask the
Well,
questions,
right,
that's all.
and since the goal is to figure out what the priorities are to be able to
Right.
fund, we have more requests than we have money.
Correct.
So in order for you
Yeah.
to be able to decide which projects you're gonna include in your capital plan,
Mhm.
because it's your article
Mhm.
that you put in, like, you know, we'll wanna, if, we may not be able to do it all on February 12th. We may wanna schedule time, say, by March 11th. That would be our last opportunity to do that.
I think what would be a good thing, at least for the, everything but the school, is for each of the departments to prioritize what's important for them.
Well,
Well,
the-
obviously, it's easy to say they all are important, but
Well, no, there is a detailed list here, and some of, are those,
They are.
can we assume those are in their
With
priority
the
number?
exception of the school department.
Okay,
they're in order of priority.
In the capital.
right here, right, this whole thing that was attached, the capital plan,
I'm reading through this here, but I didn't realize that they're in
I
order
will-
of priority.
well, they're A, B, C, D, so can we assume that, you
No.
know?
I
No.
would assume anything.
All right. All right.
What happened is when the department submitted their capital plan request, they submitted a summary document, which you were given in your booklets.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
That summary document is in priority order.
Okay.
I can resort these items to match that priority order without.
Yeah, that would be good to have,
Right.
because, I mean, if we're gonna, get behind them, we need to understand what the priority is, because obviously, if we're short $213,000, we're not gonna be able to do them all.
And on the
So
school side, I don't have a priority order yet, but I
Right.
will ask.
It'd be nice to be, have, just even they can just rank them, necessary,
Yep.
Need to have, would like to have,
Yeah.
can put off.
Yeah, I have
Something like
that for all the
Yeah,
town
that-
departments.
That's a great takeaway.
That's all.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're forced to make decisions without their input.
Correct.
Like, I mean, it just does seem strange to have two forklifts so close, in the same building, But, and that's only one example, that's not anything, not trying to pick on highway.
If you go to the next page, we have, under town offices, town buildings, we have the HVAC repairs, which are ongoing here. We have multiple units, rooftop units that we're replacing in stages, with the PMBC's input. And that's $30,000 for fiscal 14. Major equipment repairs, of 14,000. Part of this includes the, maintenance agreement at the police station for their, HVAC systems. It's $4,000 and it's a 3-year warrant. 3-year? The warranty for the,
I don't know.
okay, I think it's.
Bill took care of that.
I think it's a 3-year agreement. And 10,000 is just for general, large system maintenance repairs, so if a boiler fails in one of the buildings, then we have an avenue to go and repair it. Cemetery building, $30,000, for repairs to the exterior brickwork. They're having some problems with water getting in through the bricks, and the mortar is failing, in certain areas. And that would be done with, the PMBC's, oversight. And then Jimmy is looking for the salt shed building repairs, 20,000, with the PMBC to repair the salt shed facility. It's in need of some work.
So, priorities on these two?
Yep, we have them.
Yeah, I think we need them all, everything needs to be prioritized.
And again, it's in those books, if you wanna look at them when you go home, that binder book that I gave you for the budget. They're all in there by department. Cemetery paving, 15,000, to do the repairs, for pavement at the Foster Street site. Long Lake Security, 6,700, to be expended by Recreation to upgrade the security, at the Long Lake facility, which would include some video cameras, I believe. The Recreation vehicle lease, 4,000, this is a continuation, the third year payment of a 5-year lease for the Ranger, and it comes out of their Recreation revolving fund, so they budget.
That's not a capital expense per se.
It's not a raise and appropriate
Right.
amount, but it is part of the plan, and, should be approved as such. And the library furniture, 3,000 to replace the worn and damaged furniture at the library. And then, in addition to that, we have the community preservation funds, potential projects. 200,000.
These are not raised and appropriated.
It's paid for
It's paid
by.
through the CPC.
Yes, it does need to be appropriated, in the
Oh,
CPC's
yeah,
article.
It's gotta be
But
voted on.
it's
Still a town meeting.
separate, earmarked
Separate.
funds. So 300 King Street,
Are those in this?
It's on this page. if you-
Oh, no.
300 King Street, the recreation request for 200,000, to be expended by PMBC and Park and Recreation to upgrade the facilities at 300 King Street. I know that CPC just met on this the other night, so they're starting to make some headway on this project. Regional Housing Services, I don't know too much about this, Keith might be better to ask, but 10 to 15,000 from community housing to be expended to maintain subsidized housing inventory in Littleton. And then there's.
That's to keep 40B on 40B.
Right, that's
or
right.
in
This is
40B.
the whole matter of reviewing deed restrictions and setting up a regional housing office which would then, we would then purchase services to do that work that it helps to ensure that the inventory stays affordable. We're basing it on the model that Sudbury and Concord and Lexington and others have been doing for a couple of years.
And that's short money to do that.
Yeah.
This is very important for us to maintain our level.
Because if you get it wrong, then you're,
Yeah,
you
you can-
fall
you can-
below 10%, you're
Yeah.
spending, hundreds, thousands of dollars on legal fees to have town council reinstate them, so it's worth the front end work.
I agree.
And the final one is archival storage or vault dehumidifiers, 10 to 15,000, under historic preservation, to be expended by the town clerk and PMBC to upgrade the document storage, facilities here in Town Hall. The vault systems downstairs were never set up really for proper document storage. And we're noticing some problems with the paper quality and being able to retrieve those documents. And it does qualify under CPC as historic preservation. They've recently done something like this in Groton.
Seems like a stretch, but
Qualifies.
Oh, it's good.
So those are all of the capital items. And again, I know it's a large list, almost $1.7 million, but we do have, almost $1.5 million available. And that's a good thing in this day and age to be able to.
I think, first of all, I appreciate you going through this, and there is a lot of stuff in here, and helping us understand it better by prioritizing it will really work, so that we can go through this list, because obviously we're gonna have to make some cuts somewhere.
Yep, I'll reshuffle it.
I'm sorry, Ted. It's not cuts, just, not spending. The same thing, but.
The methodology, though, if you
I'm
do
sorry,
have
my
all.
methodology
If
is
you do
wrong
have
for
all
that
of the
tonight.
departmental priorities, and our goal is to cut out 200,000, then you
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
snip the bottom line, so. For so long as the schools are playing that game too, you prioritize theirs. Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, open space plan and recreation update.
Pete Church here from our Open Space Committee to address one of your goals for this year.
Good evening.
Come on up front.
Just wanted to give you an update our open space plan. We're in the fourth year of the current plan, which was approved by the Division of Conservation Services in June of 2009. So the plan helps us guide future open space acquisitions, recreation opportunities, and allows us to apply for grant funding for water quality protection, land acquisition, or recreation improvements. In 2008, we formed the committee. We had a very small but dedicated crew that put the plan together in-house. There are two ways to do it. The 2003 plan was a combination of committee members and a consultant that worked on the plan. So we did it in 2009. We had a couple of people that had great map-making skills and great writing skills, and put it together for us. Before the writing of the plan, we did a town survey, Survey Monkey, and the three key things that were in the survey were protect and enhance our water quality, protect the rural and natural character of Littleton, especially the 2A 119 corridor, and then provide more recreational opportunities for our kids. Some of the highlights over the last 4 years, the acquisition of Cobb land acquisitions, the new track construction, more youth programming. Some of our challenges, certainly it's a lot of work for volunteers to put the plan together. The other thing we have within the current plan is a series of action steps for once the plan is implemented. There's things that should be kind of checked on just to see what our progress is. There's really, once the committee was done, they were pretty burnt out, so there wasn't really anyone that could follow up on those action steps. So whether it's the town or the committee or the Littleton Conservation Trust, those action items should be reviewed periodically. And then another challenge is the continued threat of development hindering that sort of natural character of Littleton that people like to see. So the plan, we're in our fourth year. I just listed some next step potentials, starting in spring, summertime, forming up another committee, seeing who's interested, deciding on whether the update should be done internally, depending on what you have for committee membership, or whether you want to hire a consultant. I definitely recommend doing another survey and getting a sense of what the town's interests are. Host a public meeting in the fall, again, trying to gauge what people think. And then update the town inventories, the new parcels that we've acquired, and just update everything that's within the plan. And then by the spring of 2014, put another plan in place and submit it to the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs for approval. So just very quickly in a snapshot, that's where we're at with the open space plan.
How do you guys feel that you've done over the last few years with this plan? Is it met kind of the committee's objectives, or is there some things that, I mean, you mentioned a couple of challenges here, but overall, I mean, it sounds like we've done some good things here in the town of Littleton.
Yeah, I would say we have.
Qualified us for grant funding,
Yeah.
most importantly, that we were able to get the money
Yeah.
for the acquisition.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah.
so making sure that it's updated will be important as we, want to continue to go after those grant funds.
Yeah, it's certainly critical to have an active open space plan, because certainly getting some of the money from the state can help us leverage what money we have, whether it's cell tower funds or CPC funds.
How often do we have to redo that plan? The last one was in 2009, it has to be done right now?
Good for 5 years.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years it will be
Every 5
redone.
years, Yep.
So April of 2014 is when this one expires.
Exactly.
So you're asking us to assist you with this, or are you gonna try to run with this on your own?
No,
You need fresh blood on the committee?
I
Is that
guess,
what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
I guess,
that's what I'm.
what I would recommend is, come springtime, having some sort of announcement or
Post for.
posting in the Littleton paper and try to garner support to get the committee formed again.
Okay. Early spring or late spring?
I would say late spring. We had a very condensed time frame when we did it in 2008. We formed the committee in summertime of 2008. The fall, we had our public meeting and we had our survey, and we really worked through the winter and had a.
Does that give you enough time, I mean, to work through that?
It's, it was,
9
like
months?
I said, it was condensed, and we had, we had a very good writer of the plan, so that's critical. But certainly, a year-long process I would recommend.
Board members, any other questions, comments?
And set it up to be done by 2014 is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gotta be done by June of 2014, correct?
Yep.
So Keith, you know, you should look at, I don't know if you wanna wait till late spring to do this, but I think it'd be better to get at least, some postings out there for new memberships earlier rather than later.
Yeah, it's certainly, having a little more time certainly gives you leeway. The one thing that probably can't do too much in terms of public meeting or in the summertime, there's probably you're not gonna get as much of a response if you do a survey. It's probably better to wait till fall on those, but certainly forming up a committee can happen in the springtime.
Okay.
How many of the incumbents want to continue?
I haven't reached out to everybody, but our writer of the plan, Kimberly Harriman, did ask to step down, so we certainly need a writer for the plan.
That caliber, though?
What's
Gotta
that?
get some of that caliber.
Great work.
She was
Yeah, she was good. Very good work.
Very good, very good.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll find somebody like that.
That's still gonna stay as
We
a
have
five-member,
skills that wants to-
five-member
No,
board?
you know what, it's, there's no minimum number or maximum number.
Well, how was your attendance with the five-member board when you met? I mean,
We,
no quorums, no issues?
pretty much all five of us were regularly attending the meetings. We met pretty much once a month.
What does the board think about possibly expanding that?
Well, was 5 enough?
I would say a couple more could certainly
Could
help.
help.
Yeah, why don't we advertise and then see how many we get?
Well, that's actually a good point. See what we get, and if we get 7 to.
We get 7 live ones, we'll grab them.
What's the definition of live?
If we
Do
only
we
get
have-
5, if we only get 5, let's not eclipse a quorum by making the committee.
Yeah, no,
big.
good point.
Right. Yeah, just get nervous about boards being too large, and then you have quorum issues.
Yeah, we can start the outreach.
Yeah. So we start the outreach in what, March? Is that early enough?
I think that's fine.
Okay.
Very good.
Any other comments from board members?
Thank you.
Nice job, thanks for the update, and
You're
we'll
welcome.
get to work on this
Great work.
in March. Yeah, why don't we jump in and do the minutes, before we do the staffing plan for the fire department? The only one we have is from, January 14th, for a motion.
I'd like to, Jen, if you, on the public input, if you could put, I did mention, I wanted to congratulate the Neshoba Corral for their work on the Elijah,
Oh, okay.
so if you just stick that in, that's the only.
Gee, looks like I missed quite a meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was fun. It was a fun one.
It was, compared to some other meetings that I've heard about in town, I've heard that this was well-run. I mean, and I was here, I agree, that I think the chair kept very good control and let everyone speak and ran a good meeting.
Trying to get back on my good side now.
I don't need to be on anyone's side, man.
I was waiting for the other shoe.
Which side is that?
Agree to disagree and shake hands, we'll walk out, Greg, just like we always do.
Okay, here comes the end, ta-da.
I knew it was coming.
I didn't know I was on your bad side, so I guess I was speaking heartfelt.
All right, let's, I'll look for a motion here in these minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as amended by Selectman Knox.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay. We'll
Mr.
move.
Chairman.
Yes.
May I have a minute?
Sure.
Because this matter, the next matter discusses an item that my son is potentially a candidate for, and I have indicated to this board in the past, I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion. I would like the record to so reflect that, and if you have no other business, I think I'll go through.
This is our last item. Please plow us out on the way out, so we get stuck here. Thank you. Okay, well, with that, Chief, come on down and the next contestant.
Alex, let me know how much snow there is. Alex, text me, let me know how much snow there is.
I think I'll take your plow.
Yeah.
Looks like it stops now.
All right.
So, what I've basically put together a proposal for the next few years, and a little bit of an outlook. I'll start off with a review of the department. Approximately 10 years ago, we had a 62-member department. We reconfigured the officer corps to include, there was the chief, 2 deputy chiefs, 2 captains, and there were 6 lieutenants at the time. We split them up, so there were 2 companies. Now we're down to about 37 members. The officers, a few of the lieutenants have moved on, and positions have not been filled. In addition to that, I think through attrition, there may not be a few more or less positions may not be filled. But now, as we're looking forward to going around the clock with the 24-hour staffing, hopefully, with the potential of that coming, looking at trying to reconfigure the staffing as far as to basically have better control, continuity throughout the membership. And in doing that would be to create a full-time deputy chief and do away with basically filling the position that I created. So we would have a full-time deputy chief as well as a call deputy chief. And my vision is in time to, through attrition, do away with the call deputy chief, so that we can have a full-time chief and a full-time deputy that can basically oversee the whole department and deal with, basically the deputy chief would be the working component, dealing with the full-time staff as well as the call department. As you can see in the back of your packet, I believe there's a few flow charts, and the first one for the 2013 model, or there's a current model, and then there's a proposed 2013 model. That would, set it up so that you can understand how the current department, with the proposal of the deputy chief, how that would run into place. And then as you flip to the last page, you would see with the potential of going with the 24-hour staffing, how the model would look with the chief and the full-time deputy, as well as to the call department and with the full-time staff as well. Having the ability to have a deputy chief, simply the continuity, but like I said, between the two, the call department and the full-time staff, and somebody that's there to constantly answer the questions, have that authority in a non-union position gives us a better ability to operate and, function a little more efficiently.
So, let me ask you a question, like devil's advocate, but let's just say you don't get the 24-hour service, what would the plan look like at the
Basically, like the second page, the second,
the 13 model?
correct.
Okay.
All right,
So you'd still have a call deputy?
That's correct.
A full-time deputy?
That's correct. The part of the vision is to see that the call deputy through attrition,
Sure.
in time. And in the meantime, we're still looking at increasing the call department. We currently have a member in the Call Volunteer Academy. We also have 3 additional to go in June. So we're constantly trying to strengthen the call department, as well as looking forward to increase the full-time staff to better serve the community and to keep active membership on the call department so they can work jointly together.
So how many call deputies do you currently have
1,
as well?
yes.
When you were the call deputy, was it?
There were 2. Originally, back when we had 62 members, we had 2 Company 1 and Company 2, and we had a deputy, a captain, and several lieutenants for each company, to split up your span of control amongst the members. But now that the department is shrinking on the call side, some of it's a bit top-heavy. And, as those positions, or as members go away and the positions vacate, we wouldn't necessarily be filling them all. And in addition to that, with going with the full-time staff, part of our vision is to, this July, go for the 4 groups of 2, so that we can have, 2 members to staff the ambulance 24/7, and then potentially a year from now, add an additional 3, also with the use of the flex person that we've talked about before, to put 3 members on the 24/7, so there'd be 4 shifts of 3. And at that time, we would implement a lieutenant on each of those groups for responsibility, continuity, and to make
So
it.
this chart for the 2017 model, you've got FT, full-time staff circled, that's just kind of basically saying, are those placeholders for something?
That's the full-time, just to delineate the full-time between the call.
Okay, so you wouldn't need to fill those 4 slots with captains?
No, I'm not, yeah, that's correct. I'm looking.
Just kind of following the left to the.
In the future, there would be, the circles are just simply stating that's the full-time staff.
The functions, not positions.
Not positions.
Right. But that would be a lieutenant and 2 firefighters on each group, as we get around to. The long run, at the final plan, would be a lieutenant and 3 firefighters, yes.
Okay. That's 2017.
Correct.
That's your 24-hour coverage?
Yes. The final goal is to have 2 on the ambulance and 2 on the engine. And that's just a bare minimum.
Right.
That still heavily relies on the call department to augment any large incidents. It's a couple examples. We've had 2 structure fires. We had one on Foster Street in December. We had one on Whispering Pine last Friday morning. And last Friday, it used to be when they'd say structure fire, the members would come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
We had 9. We had 9 members show up where we used to have 20 to 25. That's very difficult to operate all of our apparatus. We can get our apparatus there, but we don't have the staff to operate it. So we have to rely on mutual aid. We're at a stage now where we have any report of a fire, we automatically take a mutual aid company and start them before we even get out of the station. Because we can't rely on the staff to fill our apparatus.
That costs?
It does not. It's a mutual aid agreement. They
Okay.
call us, we go,
Okay.
and we call them, they come, but yeah, each town supports their own.
Well, the contiguous towns around us, how many are full-time?
The only one that is not is Harvard.
Foxborough's full-time as well?
Yes, yes. Foxborough's been around the clock for 21 years. Air is also around the clock. Groton is not, or Groton is also only during the day. But they're just having a new station just was approved for them last night. And they're building staffing quarters so that they can also go around the clock. You can, maybe some of you might have seen the front page of the article in the Lowell Sun today. Basically deals with Littleton, Littleton, Groton, Pepperell, and Townsend. We're all in the same boat. People just, members aren't showing up. Families, members are busier with their families, working longer hours of their jobs, maybe even a second job, just with the economy. And when it comes to 3 o'clock in the morning, they'd rather get a couple more hours of sleep so they can have, function properly for their full-time job than, come out and bust their butt with us.
The cold weather.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, is there a history of people that have not shown up for a couple of years?
We have certain requirements.
Okay.
Each member
All right.
has training standards and a certain number of responses that they come to every year. And if they don't meet those minimum requirements, they're dismissed.
Yeah. So what you're saying, that's how you probably got 67 to 45?
Correct.
Now, don't they have to be EMT and?
No, they don't have to be both. That's, we have some that are just firefighters and some that are just EMTs. The majority is both. They are cross-trained. So basically, the first step in implementing the new design would be to add or reclassify the position from captain to deputy chief.
So we're not adding a deputy chief and keeping the captain, it's kind of what we did with the police.
Yeah, you're
That's correct.
You're redefining the second in command
Second in
as a deputy, as a true executive officer,
That's correct.
recognizing the value of that, of having 2 non-union management people in charge of a major department, as we did with the police department.
That seems to be the biggest
All by
advantage.
yourself right now, huh?
That seems to be the biggest advantage, having another non-union.
Definitely, absolutely. There's certain issues that have come about and that I don't have the, comfort of discussing with them because he has the ability to go back to discuss it with the union.
So you bring out Annie, talk to her, right?
Yeah, right.
What's the financial impact look like for this?
It's about $1,200 a year. The reason is the salary increase is about, $11,000 annually. However, there's no overtime as a management exempt employee. So the savings there are offset by about $10,000.
So under our whole reclassification and everything that we just did in the last couple of years, there's no way to just change the captain to non-union, right? This is the only way to go.
The captain position is a bargaining unit contract. It is in the union contract.
Okay.
It's defined that way.
Okay.
The position of deputy chief is specifically excluded from the union
Okay.
contract. So by creating and filling the position of deputy chief, we can, the way is clear to do that as a management employee. It doesn't violate the union
Are there
contract.
any potential issues with the union saying that there isn't a captain? Can we get in trouble there, or?
I have met with the union. They are supportive of the move
Losing some
because they
dues.
also see.
Well, you understand the long-term plan, I mean, the plan
Exactly.
is your goal tonight, that you discussed during the budget is, the timely signal to send as well, that we're looking at adding staff.
Right, adding staff with the potential of 4 promotions for lieutenants in the future.
Who do you call deputy now?
Jim Ray is the call department deputy chief.
So what I'm seeing is 2013 is gonna carry us through until we get to the 24-hour coverage model, and there's gonna be no more coming back in next year and saying, well, I need to have a leader of my full-time staff, so I need to have I don't know, whatever, there's no mid-level corporal, sergeant, anything like that, that's,
As in the model, there would be the deputy chief now.
yeah.
Then 24-hour staff would be implemented July 1st, on the wishful part. And then next year, we would be going for 3 additional, and then taking our flex person, which is part of the staff for July. That would put a total of 3 per group in a year from July. At that time, we would appoint a lieutenant for each of the shifts.
I hope.
That's.
I have to try.
Yeah, so you jump right, well, so this is 2017. Wow.
So, there's.
Where's the steps in between 2014?
There's some
2014,
time
2017?
that I'm assuming is going to be permitted or not. But we may be able to actually use, go a year or 2 with the 3 to buy some time before we can have our 4th added to each of the shifts. So we kind of put a window into with an opportunity to evaluate. In a couple of years, we may see that we have the 4 shifts of 3, and we may be able to take advantage of some of the per diems and use some of that into a shift. So we have a little bit of play in there. If it works, then.
I'm glad you said that, because, I mean, obviously, would love to throw the whole thing at your plan, but I mean, to be realistic,
Right.
we have to, we want to start going that direction, but will it go exactly our schedule? We don't know yet, that's for sure.
I
I
understand
don't
that.
blame you for
No, he's-
asking.
I'm at least, addressing the need, and the stats to back it up.
You got 9
And-
guys showing up. Something's gonna change.
It's important we've
I mean,
got.
Exactly.
this won't change that much, because you're still relying on the call to make the bigger
Absolutely,
minutes.
absolutely relying on the call department. This is, our basic focus, this is getting an ambulance out the door, 24/7, in a timely
In
fashion.
3 minutes rather than 11.
Exactly.
So by committing to, so if the town votes to go to the 2013 model, we're not committed to growing any larger the next couple of years. We can maintain that for a couple of years.
If we needed to, yes. I mean, obviously, the chief's goal is to get us to the 2017 and 2017, but if it turns out to be 2020 or 25, or, I mean, it's a progressive
If
plan.
it turns out to be 2016 and I can't get anybody out the door, I'll be coming back requesting, additional, if I can't get people to back up them. But like I said, it's our goal to increase the call department, and if people don't wish to participate anymore, then they can move on, and we'll replace them, hopefully with some active members.
Do you have any, sorry,
Go ahead.
do you have any stats on how many people show up to big events, or how many call people show up that you can use? I know you got this one that's fresh in your mind from yesterday, but, selling this to the town in May, are there other ways to track the performance, or not the performance, but the liability, whatever you wanna call it?
That's
of the-
actually in
of-
process right now.
Okay.
They have a new program that they're doing, and they're analyzing the times of day that the call department members are showing up, if any certain day of the week is better, or specific calls. So I will have all of those numbers shortly.
Going back how far? A year, 2 years, or now until then?
Till 2001.
Oh, all right, that should do.
So I'll be able to show, the trends, and all in graphs and
Okay.
stuff that's easy to visualize.
I look at this and say, okay, it's gonna cost us an additional $1,200 a year, right, Bonnie?
Yes.
So it's $100 a month. I guess the more important piece here is it gives you an extra management person in your staff. And what I'd like to know, since we've done that with the police department recently, is what has that done, since you're right here, Johnny, on the spot, what has that done for you folks from a management perspective?
Well, you reclassified my position. I was always a
That's
management
true.
person.
Yeah,
However,
he was
I
on-
can tell you my view on this, especially, he already is working with full-time staff. I think Scott will quite candidly tell you that some issues he's talked about discussing, he's come over and discussed with me, because he doesn't have
No one else
that
around.
second, and Scott and I obviously have a personal relationship and know each other, but, because he's looking for that non-management other management person to talk to. He's come over and run things by me, because your true second in command of full-time staff is a union member right now. Nothing against him, but there are some things he can't discuss with the union for obvious reasons, whether that be negotiations, whether that be employee personnel issues, whether, you know, there's just a myriad of things that you need your second. And you also have the continuity of, if he's gone, takes a vacation, does whatever, you have your true management person there that's there. You know, if, you know, so, you know, I
That
can't say
itself-
enough about it.
That in itself right there, you know, staffing plans in the future aside, that in itself right there was worth $100 a month to me.
Absolutely.
To give you another person in the department to bounce ideas off of and to manage the staff. I mean, you need to have that second in command. That's just my own opinion. Did I sell it, or do you guys want to debate it?
I'm debating you almost.
All right, well, if that's the case, then let's make a motion.
All right, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the fire chief's proposal to reorganize the second in command position in the Littleton Fire Department by reconstituting the union position of fire captain, full-time hourly, FLSA non-exempt, instead a non-union position, deputy fire chief, full-time salaried, FLSA exempt, provided that any employment agreed with the deputy fire chief shall be subject to the approval of the Board of Selectmen.
Second, yes.
Move and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations.
I was like, I was waiting for someone else, and I was realized the only one in the
You're the only
room.
man that can say aye. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy your evening.